problem is not so much Biden's treatment of Joe Manchin, but it's the fact that he didn't even seem like he cared about the policy in the first place.
It's not these policies that he's supposed to be providing for. It's your pet projects because you're a rich white dude who doesn't give a fuck about anything else in this country. 15 hours, 15 hours, 15. That's all you think about. That's all you know about. Probably because you heard it fall up Bernie Sanders' mouth, and that's it.
Right, can you start this from the top? Yeah. There's too much in that. Is it on like 0.125?
No, that's just how Destiny's little rat weasel voice goes. Look at that.
There's so much to respond to in the first like 15 seconds. He called me a rich. I am, first of all, not rich. Not even fucking close. Just recently became somewhat successful on this platform. Like just within the last year became like, okay, finally I can afford my rent and to like eat lunch.
Gavin and I used to split like $3,500 a month, like fucking peanuts. Okay. We were barely getting by.
Yeah, that's, and what does that have to do with my criticism of Joe Biden? Like, oh, because I was advocating for people to receive a higher minimum wage. Oh, but you're not a minimum wage worker, so why do you even care? You must just be virtue signaling, you fucking elitist. Like, what?
Yeah, that's his only go-to. It's his Chat GPT response.
And also, Destiny's literally the one who brags about how he gets like a single hot chocolate from Starbucks delivered via DoorDash because he's so rich. I'm like, bro, I would, even if I was genuinely rich, I still wouldn't do that shit.
No, fuck no.
The problem is not so much Biden's treatment of Joe Manchin, but it's the fact that he didn't even seem like he cared about the policy in the first place.
It's not the...
And also, that was a great point. The fact that he decided to start off right there and be like, yeah, Joe Biden didn't fight for any of these bold progressive promises he made, and that was what made voters resentful, and that's why he fucking couldn't run for re-election. That's why the party forced him out. Also, he couldn't fucking talk, and you made no criticisms of that for the entirety of his presidency, okay? And the party got humiliated, and you think that he's some swell guy that needs to be defended? Like, fucking use your head, dog.
These policies that he's supposed to be providing for. It's your pet projects because you're a rich white dude who doesn't give a fuck about anything else in this.
Pet projects like $15 minimum wage, pet projects like canceling student debt.
Those are things that Joe Biden ran on. If anything, they're Joe Biden's pet projects that he failed to fucking actually, live up to. What the fuck?
Yeah. My pet project is Medicare for all, Destiny.
Yeah.
Country. 15 hours, 15 hours, 15. That's all you think about. That's all you know about. Probably because you heard it fall up Bernie Sanders' mouth, and that's it.
100%. Yeah, I think that's a very fair point. That's why.
Not fair. You can't say that's a fair point. That just completely contradicted every single thing you just said.
I will check the tapes on this. I can't wait to find records of you saying, "Oh yeah, Trump's going to get Mike Johnson confirmed in his first vote. He's going to get all of his cabinets picked. He is going to get the one big beautiful bill."
You go to war with Joe Manchin. You say, "I'm going to primary you." Block. Hold on, just hold on. I'm going to your mom, and I'm going to primary you, and we're going to okay. And then he says, "You know what? I don't like this at all. I'm an independent. You guys don't get the majority. That's that."
So is you stupid? So the response.
So this is also really frustrating because what Hutch would do the entire time we were debating is he would present a counterfactual, and then in that counterfactual, he would be the lone determining factor as to what it would happen. Like what would be well, if you do this, then that will happen. I'd be like, well, that didn't happen. So how do you know that will be the end? Oh, of course it'll be that wasn't in Joe Biden's character to do that. So it's like
the best one is when he was like, what if Joe Biden was mean to Joe Manchin? That would then hypothetically cause Joe Manchin to leave the Democratic Party. Then his own co-host was like, well, he did that anyway. He literally did that anyway and then retired.
Yeah.
And Hutch was like, well, I guess, yeah, I have no response to that.
Manchin is not bullyable. Is a response to your question is, why don't you bully? Okay,
that wasn't my question.
Why don't you bully? It literally was. The Democrats thought they could people and lie to them about, oh, we're actually fighting for $15 in minimum wage, or oh, we're actually going to cancel your student loans when they never had an intention of doing it. They rolled over immediately, so they lost and handed.
Never had the intention of doing student loans?
No, they did not.
Well, why did he do it?
Oh, the Republicans struck it down. That's what the Democrats always say.
The court struck it down, bro. What do you mean?
That's why we got to pack that court.
Okay, also, and I've been meaning to revisit this, right? Because in the middle of our fucking conversation, we get into this huge argument about the fucking Supreme Court, right? And I say, they did strike it down through the HEROES Act. That's totally true. But Joe Biden never pursued it through the Higher Education Act of 1965, which was the much more effective, much more salient, much more likely to succeed path to, cancel student debt for people, right? But they were so married to the idea that they had to means test it, that it couldn't be universal, that they couldn't just broad stroke, get rid of every single person's debt who had gotten, government aid or government, sponsored student loans, right? So they wanted to go through the HEROES Act specifically so they could means test it, right? They did not ever pursue the Higher Education Act of 1965 cancellation through the Supreme Court. I was gaslit like a motherfucker, and I was like, okay, you might be right. You're a lawyer. I then, go after the debate and do my own homework, and j'accuse. They did not ever fully exhaust their capacity through the Higher Education Act of 1965 because they were married to the means testing. The only way that they were going to actually be able to broad stroke do it was if they did not means test. But anyway, I digress. The other thing was Joe Biden fucking ran on canceling student debt. He did not deliver on canceling student debt, just like he didn't deliver on any of his other critical campaign promises. And that's why people didn't vote for Democrats in the next election.
So Hutch, again, I agree with you. Biden's first 6 months more legislatively successful than Trump's, but hasn't Trump surprised you? I know he surprised me. I know he surprised a lot of people on Twitter when we're like, oh, they're not going to be able to get Mike Johnson confirmed as speaker. They're not going to be able to get this continuing resolution passed. They're not going to be able to get the one big beautiful
You
bill
believe
done.
that, Josiah?
And
Wait, who was saying any of this? To pass any of these things, all they needed were simple majorities, right? Wouldn't everybody have thought all of these things were coming through? Am I missing something, or?
that?
And they have knocked one W after another. They have defied expectations when it looked like Trump was down.
Not only that, we didn't even bring it up during the debate, but Gavin and I talked about it afterwards. When Joe Biden got elected, there was a special election in Georgia on the horizon, right? It was Raphael Warnock's election. It was a special election in Georgia that was taking place right after Joe Biden's inauguration. And the Democrats went all out. They said, do you want $2,000 checks, right? They said, do you want $2,000 checks? Raphael Warnock was photographed doing advertisements saying, we will give you the stimulus check. Okay, right? What did they do as soon as they got into power with their simple majority? They shorted people $600. They shorted people $600 and they gave them $1,400. And they were like, oh, well, you already got $600 from Donald Trump. So see how if you squint your eyes, that's $2,000. And it's like, yeah, but you said you were going to give us $2,000 checks. Why did you roll over immediately and not put up any fight? This is the kind of shit that people hate about the Democrats. And it doesn't matter what kind of little marginal congressional victories you get because you fuck people when it really matters, like on the minimum wage, like on the student loan relief, and like their fucking $2,000.
Yep. 100%.
For the count, he squeaked a win.
I am so confused about that analysis. I thought they were always going to pass their continuing resolution. They might quibble over some of the finer points, but it's just simple majorities they need in both. It was just simple majorities they needed in both houses.
That's not true. Wait, that is so not true. Trump has, and this I think goes to Zach's point. He has a force of personality and is able to influence his members of Congress to do that, that is against their interest, against their constituents' interest. You look, for example, I know you guys talk about Josh Hawley because I think I saw a video of you guys talk about Josh Hawley. Like, Josh Hawley puts a stake in the ground and says, no, on Medicaid, I'm not going to budge, and this is really important, and he budges. And so, if you actually decide, and I have to question you, if you actually thought they weren't going to be able to get Mike Johnson as speaker, you actually thought they weren't going to be able to pass a continuing resolution. It was baked in when they won the election, man, because Trump actually has that force of will.
They got it done the first time. They got it done. They got Mike Johnson confirmed on the first vote.
That's one way to spin it. That how long did that take? That took like how many votes to get that done?
Wait, no. I think we all had. Because I think we all had.
I know. That's the other thing about this debate. Nothing was relevant, right? That's why I don't want to debate Destiny. Well, there's a million reasons why I don't want to debate Destiny. But why the fuck would I debate about something that happened 4 years ago? I already lost 2 hours of my life having to debate Hutch about this, right? Which honestly, Hutch is just giving me Destiny talking points. So we really already did debate Destiny over this.
100%. Yeah. God, I wish we could just hear like some of the Destiny commentary on it without having to just relive the whole fucking debate because this was already boring at the time.
Here, I can skip ahead to when he pauses the debate for a second and we can just hear him yap for a second.
345. Who are the two independents? Regardless of even who they are, even if they were both.
Bernie Sanders is one of them. Genius. You were just
Donald Trump doesn't
earlier.
need every single one. Biden needed every single Democrat, including Manchin and Sinema.
Yeah, the rotating villain. Okay, do you remember when it was Joe Lieberman Destiny? They always do this. They always trot out somebody who is the reason that they can't get accomplished this legitimate progressive goal.
If Kamala had been elected, then it would have been John Fetterman.
Yep, 100%.
With him on any votes, and he still passed a lot of legislation. Trump needed Vance to tiebreak vote on the continuing resolution.
Get into specifics. How is he going to pressure Joe Manchin?
Go to his district, hold a rally, talk about how this guy.
What you're going to go pressure the most contested district, the most conservative district with who? Manchin?
The same way that Bernie Sanders went to fucking Tulsa, Oklahoma, the same way that he went to Shreveport, Louisiana, the same way that he went to McAllen, Texas, the same way he's been all over this fucking country, the same way he turned out tens of thousands of people in Utah. Hello. It can be done if you actually give people something to show up for. Destiny lives in Florida. All right. Republican stronghold. Do you know what they fucking voted for? $15 an hour. Okay. So I don't want to hear about how in a Republican stronghold, you can't force that through.
Yep, 100%, 100%. Plus, I will say the only thing I'm willing to cede to these guys, and I think we talked about this in the debate, is that Joe Biden himself was probably not, at a place where he could have been communicatively talented enough anymore to pull this off. But like in theory, a Democratic president, yes, 100% should go to a place even like West Virginia and hold rallies and use the fucking bully pulpit. Now, again, we talked about the fact that Joe Biden, by the time all of this happened, was deeply into cognitive decline. He couldn't even, go on TV and do a friendly interview after the Super Bowl, let alone, barnstorm in West Virginia, yada, yada, yada. The point is, that's not even their analysis. They're not even talking about Joe Biden couldn't do that because he's too old to, and he's not a good communicator, and it wouldn't have inspired anyone. And Joe Manchin is a better communicator, frankly, even. No, they're just saying that in theory, even, Joe Biden from 10, 15 years ago, what? You think he should go to fucking West Virginia? Yes, obviously. Of course, any president should absolutely try to whip their fucking caucus into line when it comes to one of their key pieces of legislation, if not for the sake of the American people who that legislation theoretically delivers for, if for the sake of their fucking legacy. It makes them look weak as fuck to just let Joe Manchin run the show, to let Joe Manchin just walk all over you. It's crazy.
In addition to that, it wasn't like Hutch and Destiny and all these guys were out here saying Joe Biden should drop out, that we need a free and fair primary. They weren't calling on people to support force a Democratic primary. They weren't, telling people to vote uncommitted. They weren't telling people to support Dean Phillips or Marianne Williamson or anybody with a fucking pulse besides Joe Biden because he was not going to be able to win the election. Right? They're talking about this as if he would have been teed up to be massively successful, guys, when we know his internal polling before he dropped out showed him winning like 6 states, guys. It was going to be the biggest ass whooping this country had seen since 72 when McGovern got the Democratic nomination. It was going to be such a fucking bloodbath, such a humiliation that they couldn't stand for it. Okay. They couldn't stand for it. And that's why we got Kamala Harris at the end. I didn't hear any of that analysis from you guys. You know who was saying that over and over and over at the top of our lungs, saying, hey, Joe Biden can't do it. He's going to fucking lose. That was us.
Yep. 100%. And honestly, it would have been a good way to elevate Kamala into being a more well-known and well-liked politician if Biden had used her as an attack dog in moments like this one. If he had sent her out to go harass and harangue Joe Manchin, to really put him on the spot and lecture him and explain to people what he was costing them, as far as that provision in the bill went. Obviously, Kamala Harris is not a great politician, but I think that would have endeared her to some people to see her in that role of as a fighter, out there calling out corporate Democrats.
Oh, absolutely. That's what Joe Biden needed from his vice president because he was such an old man. But it wasn't going to happen with Kamala Harris. I think she was a bad choice, and I think that one of the things that Joe Biden did that really fucked the Democrats was even if it was going to be Kamala Harris, right? He shouldn't have said, "I'm going to pick a vice president that's a black woman." It made her. So
it looked like a DEI pick.
Exactly. It was going to be, everybody was going to call her a DEI candidate, even when she was very, very qualified, right? I have massive disagreements with Kamala Harris, but I think that one criticism of her that doesn't stick is that she wasn't qualified, by the typical metrics of the job. She'd been a senator. She'd been vice president. She'd been the top cop of California. She had credentials. They were just things that I massively disagreed with. But I also disagree with their premise that, and we talked about this a lot, you argued it pretty well, that at no point in Joe Biden's life would he actually have been able to whip votes, because I think 20 years ago, one of the narrow appeals of Joe Biden is that you could have sent him from Delaware down south to shake some hands, Lyndon Baines Johnson style, and be like, we're going to pass the bill. Yeah. We need you on this one, Joe Manchin. We need, I need to see Joe Biden down in West Virginia from Delaware, shaking his hand and saying, Manchin, what do you need to see? What do you need to see? I know. What do you need to see in West Virginia to get this $15 done? What do you need to see? I'm the president of the United States. I can do a lot for you. I can do a lot for the state of West Virginia. I can make you a very popular man there. What do you need to see? We need to get this done. And then Christian Cinema, you go down there, you do the same thing. If they don't want to be, it's plateau y plomo, silver or lead. You know what I mean? Do they want to be bought or do they want to be taken out? Right. Give them the cartel treatment.
Yeah. And if they're not going to go along with it, like you said, at least fucking humiliate the shit out of them. Point out to no end how corrupt they are. Point out to no end all of the ways in which they're fucking over the American people. Truly shame them on the public stage. And Joe Biden didn't even do that. It didn't even seem like he gave a fuck at all that they were, sabotaging his key piece of legislation and his legacy, and therefore handing the country back to Donald Trump. It's crazy. Like no one even seemed like they gave a fuck except for people on the left like us who were screaming about this.
Yep. And we did scream about it every single day. Check the receipts.
For a time was literally the most popular senator in the entire United States. Why do progressives, these guys are progressives, aren't they? They must be. Only progressives say like this. Oh, just go pressure him.
Actually, do you know who the most popular senator in the country was during the entirety of the Joe Biden presidency? Bernie Sanders, the guy that you didn't even know was the senator that voted independent.
Yeah, and also it's true that Joe Manchin had a like lofty fucking approval rating in his home state. But that's because the Democrats never treated him like the fucking traitorous piece of shit that he was. They should have constantly reminded people about what a corrupt bastard he was instead of letting him set the narrative and act like I'm the only bulwark against the extremism of the far left liberals in DC, which is how he sold himself. And again, the Democrats never bothered to try to change the narrative. Yeah, you can't just point to someone's polling and then be like, oh, it's stuck in stone. No, bro, you can change that. You can at least fucking try to change public opinion. The Republicans do it all the fucking time.
Yep.
Go pressure him? Go pressure Manchin and say, what, you're going to run another Democrat in West Virginia against him and
yes,
beat him? What?
I'm on the scale to get Joe Biden. He didn't even run for fucking re-election. Okay, people, clearly he didn't like his chances.
Get into specifics. How is he going to pressure Joe Manchin?
Go to his district, hold a rally, talk about how this guy right here is standing in the way of you getting a minimum wage. Call it the minimum wage rally. Have 100,000 people show up. Have Bernie Sanders speak at it. Have every single.
You're gonna bring Bernie Sanders to West Virginia? Didn't they try to?
Yes, you dumb motherfucker. He's popular in all 50 states. He's just done a fight the oligarchy rally, and he fills up arenas. Okay, show me one of your worthless fucking simp politicians that fills up arenas in the South.
Primary
That's Trump.
Literally
with a progressive, and it was like 35-65. He got annihilated.
What are you going to talk about? Paula Jean Swearingen, like she gave it a good go, but that wasn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't like Bernie Sanders and the whole fucking, Democratic Party got behind her.
Manchin, Ballotpedia. Can I see? What am I looking for? 2020.
I like how he brags about how his recall is so good. He doesn't even remember who was running in these races.
4 congressional.
Also, again, this is just such an old fucking tired debate from 4 fucking years ago. Like, bro, okay, I don't care.
I can't navigate this website. I'm a retard. Okay, committee assignment. No, U.S. progressives. Remember, the progressive mindset is everybody agrees with our policies. If they don't, it's just because they haven't heard them yet. But or the pollsters are lying, or something else. Manufactured consent. Noam Chomsky.
That's crazy cope, given the fact that progressive politics poll so well, right? So that's what he's doing right here. He's trying to undermine the fact that our politics poll very well, regardless of who the pollster is. If you ask people if they want free at the point of service healthcare, if you ask people if they support Medicare for all, if you ask people if they support raising the minimum wage, if you ask people if they want to stop supporting the wars overseas, if you ask people if they want to invest in infrastructure, all very, very popular in America.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's lots of things that poll well, but then people don't actually vote based on that. For example, the concept of having an independent or third party option always polls at like 80%. How often do people vote in third party or independent candidates? You could make a similar argument with a lot of those left wing positions. Like, oh, well, people say they want this shit, but they never actually vote for the candidate who supports it. But
Destiny, I thought fuck.
But the reason why is because of the money imbalance. Obviously, fucking in the same way that, third parties are totally, the system is rigged against them, but the system is also totally rigged against candidates who don't take corporate PAC money and who aren't completely fucking owned by these corporate interests. So that's why they don't often get the platform in which they can truly succeed. But yeah, I think when you actually look at a issue by issue thing, people are pretty left wing. They just have to have it packaged to them in a way that they can not be fearful of.
100%. And also to the people in our chat being like, you should talk to Destiny. I wouldn't piss on Destiny if he was on fire. I sure don't feel like having a conversation with him.
Trump we also voted for Donald Trump, unfortunately. People are heterodox. Same thing happened in Florida. It's a Trump plus 40 state. Whatever leverage you think Joe Biden had in West Virginia, you are deluding yourself. Like, I just want to ask you,
that's because people don't show up to vote in West Virginia. Look at how many people are registered to vote compared to eligibility in West Virginia.
Can you simply accept that sometimes presidents are going to be constrained by the Congress, that it's not just as simple as them wielding the bully pulpit? Are you willing to concede that sometimes presidents don't get the things that they want?
How would we know he didn't do that? He did not do that. He did not make a single effort. He stayed in his basement and he said, "Oh."
He negotiated bills that he could get passed, and he didn't waste time fighting for something like hiring the
bill to give a right-wing, watered-down infrastructure bill so he could claim victory after he rolled over completely.
I also think, as I was talking about earlier in the show, the Joe Biden of 10 years ago absolutely would not have taken that bullshit from Joe Manchin. Are you kidding me?
Absolutely would have. For the record,
do you know who Joe Biden is as a politician? Because if Joe Biden actually been in, if he actually been in office when he. Can we just finish the point?
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Okay, because I can't
this triggered me
either way. If you actually knew who the politician Joe Biden was from his previous era, he would not have allowed his signature piece of legislation to be embarrassed in the way that it was by the likes of Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. He didn't even threaten to facilitate a primary against them. As soon as Thomas Massie starts talking to Donald Trump, Trump's tweeting about how they've already recruiting candidates to run against him. And with Joe Manchin, it's like there may be some disagreements with this fine and honorable member of the.
What is Massey? What district
is so boring because it's just him like asking himself some question and then Googling it and then like trying to sound smart while he reads out a Wikipedia page. Like I know it's a fucking cliche to say, but it's literally true. We're sitting here watching a Destiny stream and this is like the third time in 15 minutes where he's just like and then Googling something and now he's going to read the Wikipedia page. Like really fascinating fucking stuff here.
Yeah. Do you want to keep watching it?
Honestly, no.
Me neither.
Chat, are you guys like really like dying to see this? Because it's
Sick
pretty...
exchange by Gavin. You did get a great.
You did a great job too in that. You were fucking kicking ass.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm always nervous when we debate because I'm like, fuck. I haven't thought about this in like 4 years. Right. I've been thinking about the Donald Trump administration. I was thinking we would go in and talk about Palestine under Donald Trump. I was thinking we would talk about Mahmoud Khalil. I was thinking we would talk about ICE. These were the kind of things that I was Googling before we got our debate on. And then it's like, nope. Actually, snap back to 2021. We need to talk about the bifurcation of the Build Back Better Act and fucking the Progressive Caucus didn't hold the line and Pramila Jayapal and Bernie Sanders says we need $6 trillion, but they're offering $1 trillion.
Yeah, it was a real fucking flashback to some terrible times in our channel's history. Trying to make that period of time interesting was a real rough era, guys.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard